Alrighty, so today we're going to be talking about collaboration and analysis solution mindset, right? Yeah. All right, so we're going to be talking about, some fun things today. So the first thing when we're talking about collaboration, it's really an understanding that a diverse team or, tons of different people, are willing to use technology to assist the team, have a respect for one another, can come together to find like a common goal. So having the respect for someone's differences and, coming together that allows the team to work together. I know many of you can probably think of a time where you've had to do collaborations with classmates or potentially in your jobs, and it just does not go the way it should. So that's going to be kind of the thing that we're thinking about. So thinking in the terms of like if you're in a new job or in the world of work, or this can also be applicable to school stuff too. So we're going to be focusing on points 1 and 2 today, but also points 3 and 4 are important. So finding positive ways to deal with conflict is another good thing, as well as sharing leadership and gathering ideas and using the skills of all team members. All right, so per usual, the what not to do videos.
The lease is signed, Dad. We have a store.
My deepest desire has always been to own a sporting goods store with my son. That and to find evidence of intelligent life on another planet. Now I'm halfway to getting everything I ever wanted.
Well, dreams really can come true. With your background in manufacturing and my knowledge in sports, we have no choice but to succeed. So, where should we begin?
I think we should divide up our responsibilities based on our strengths. For example, I'm good at math, so I should handle our accounting.
And I'm great with people, so I should be in charge of customer service. And they say that family businesses are tough, but you and I work together like peanut butter and jelly.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Kim and Kanye.
Government funding and extraterrestrial research into the farthest reaches of outer space. Maybe not right now, but hopefully soon.
Let's get back to the store. How about prepping our inventory?
You better handle that. I'm not good at organization.
Okay, I'll take care of inventory. Next thing on the list, maintenance and cleaning.
I can clean, but I hate it, so you should do that.
I hate cleaning too. Okay. Maybe we should split up the cleaning duties. I dust, you mop.
You dust, you mop. I watch you to make sure you do it right.
Okay. How about advertising? We need to reach out to the people.
Yes, I think you should handle that.
Hiring employees.
You.
Record keeping and taxes.
You.
Community outreach.
All you.
I don't know, Dad. It feels like I'm the one doing all the work here.
Don't be ridiculous. I'll be working very hard. When our franchise expands to include interplanetary locations, I will be handling all of that.
That's like hundreds of years in the future, if at all.
Don't be so negative. You nipped that attitude in the bud. Oh, and who will handle payroll? I think it should be you.
Why didn't you call for a reshoot?
That's
Alrighty, so as we can see, the dad from like previous times is not very willing to bend or, be with the digital piece of things. And here we can also see that he's not really willing to collaborate too much. And I mean, if you're going to do the accounting, you could do payroll as well because those are similar things, but who knows? I also now wonder if the dad would be interested because apparently, UFOs were sighted. So maybe he's partial for that kind of thing going on too. So we're going to kind of go into what is a team, what versus like what a group is. So, sometimes you can pull back to teams like sports teams, or, there's a group of it might be like a sorority or a fraternity that can kind of be a group as well too. So kind of start to think of like some different teams versus groups that way. So in the chat box, please list the differences between a team and a group of people. So kind of use this photo as a reference, and I'll kind of I'll give some examples in a minute, but I kind of want to hear what you guys have to say about it first. So go ahead and put things in the chat box. Team leadership with a task and goal oriented. Perfect. Yep. Collaborate, works together, while a group can just be a bunch of random people together. Accurate. Team is working together. Group is just like your friends hanging out. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, your friends can be just like a group hanging out together, but then if you guys did like a intramural sports team, then it's a little bit different. Totally. I'll give it just a second. Group. Okay, so she had team leadership, task goal oriented, and a group of people together, no order or set positions. Yep. And then Emily said a team have a common goal while a group may share interests but have different goals. That's a good point. Of groups may share interests but have different goals in mind. So it could be more individualistic versus a team of having the one set goal. My gosh, you guys are so smart. I love it. I love it. All right. Perfect. So yeah, so all the kind of things that you guys were just saying hits exactly the nail on the head. So the people in the elevator together just may be a group of people riding the elevator, but if it got stuck, they had to figure out a way to get out, and they become a team. They can become a team to resolve the problem and identify, whatever it may be. Hopefully, with all their phones, they can get out, but you never know at that point too. So yeah, you guys hit on all the points that I was exactly thinking for this. Perfect. So next we're going to kind of talk about a great team and your experiences with it. So think again about a time where you worked with a successful team. So your best group project, your best group work effort. Like for instance, mine at Starbucks, when I was there for 4 years, we had to get, all these drinks done in a matter of time, and we split up evenly to get all of our things done. Because Starbucks can get crazy busy. So what I want you guys to do is kind of think about 5 characteristics and qualities or factors that contribute to the team being successful. So in the chat, after you kind of think about those for a minute, I want you guys to put down your top 5, or maybe what you think might be the most important characteristic, quality, or factor. And Aria and I will be sharing ours as well, and I'll be reading your guys' chat boxes too. So take a minute or two and kind of think about that, and go ahead and put them in the chat box. All right. So Samantha said trust, collaboration, positivity, quick thinking, and being able to read your surroundings. That's a great, yeah, that's a great team, you know, mentality. All right. Good communication, evenly splitting tasks, timely getting tasks done, and checking each other's work. All good. Good communication, problem solving, able to compromise, flexible, and creative. Ooh, I like the creative aspect about that too. Because you don't think, sometimes with teams, you don't think about needing to be creative to, figure out what it might need to be done. Communication, softball player, love it. Communication, collaboration, vocal, being loud, trusting, and accepting. Yeah, I played soccer for, oh God, like 12 years of my life. So I can 100% understand the sports reference to that as well. All right. So trust, good communication, positive working together, flexible. Yes, yes. The flexible piece is huge. Loyalty, trustworthy, adaptability, charismatic, and acceptability. Yeah, I like the charismatic in there too. The loyalty, being loyal to your team. You know, it's so easy to use sports metaphors in this. You don't want to be a bandwagoner. You want to be loyal to your team that way, obviously. But yeah, oh, you guys are using some good ones. Let's see, Aria, why don't you go ahead and let us know your top 5.
So for me, I think empathy is really important, and then being strength focused on what everybody, because everybody has different strengths.
Yeah.
So that, and then having really great communication, which a lot of you mentioned too.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not communicating, then you're all kind of all over the place. And then supportive, and then having a growth mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, all good things and all things that we've talked about as well too. And if you want to go ahead and put yours in the group chat as well, that'd be cool. Yeah, all the things. Mine, I definitely pulled from sports as well, but also in like terms of like the world of work. I really value communication, focus, organization, honesty, and empathy. So very similar to kind of the pieces that Aria was talking about. Empathy is really important. I think the organization and communication piece is important when you're playing off of people's strengths and staying with your goal in mind, the task in mind that you have. And again, this is just my top 5. All of you guys have different top 5s. They're all just a little bit different, and it's obviously going to be more important to you and your experiences that way. So thank you everyone for putting them down that way. That's awesome. So in summary, team building and collaboration, there's normally a common goal and a vision. There's agreed roles, tasks, actions, things that need to be completed. Normally, the best way that collaborations work is when everyone's contributing. I don't know about you guys, but when I've had group projects and there's that one person that's not contributing, it's so frustrating. And you want to pick up the slack and do, their pieces because you want to get a good grade. But when everyone's contributing and everyone's doing their part, it helps to get the better grade and to feel like you're working together. So as lastly, working together to achieve using their gifts, their talents, their skills and qualities. So whatever that may be applicable to you and however that hits home, that's definitely, something you can utilize when going into your profession and whatever you're going into next in this world. So Tuckman's model of team development. So if anyone's ever heard of these kinds of like group norms and kind of things like that, there's different different phases that groups go into. So and as I'm talking about these, kind of think about a time when you were potentially like a new employee, you were new to a team, you were new to, some new experience where there was already a formed team, or you can think about a time where everyone's brand new and you kind of have to figure things out together too. So normally people in a group, or team, sorry, we're talking about teams here. In teams, you go through a thing where you form together. You might be storming to like figure out, okay, who's good at this? Who's good at this? I'm not good at that. So it's kind of conflict, but it's the healthy kind of conflict. And then you're norming, which means, you're kind of like figuring out the balance and everything's going kind of back to normal. And then the performing piece. So like I've said, I pull a lot from my sports references because I played a lot of sports growing up. So the performing aspect is we have to go through those 3 steps first before we can perform and be a successful, team that way. So like I just mentioned, the team acquaints and establishes kind of ground rules. Formalities are preserved and members are kind of treated as strangers. So whether that's you coming into a group that's already established, or if everyone's strangers that way too. Mm-hmm. So storming, members start to communicate their feelings, but still view themselves as individuals rather than part of the team or the group. They resist control by group leaders and show potential hostility or, some passive aggressive comments or negativity, whatever it may be that way too. And then norming, people feel part of the team and realize they can achieve work if they accept other viewpoints. So starting to help each other and, working together. Performing, like I said in the last one, works in an open and trusting atmosphere where flexibility is the key and hierarchy is very little of importance. So like on a soccer team or potentially a softball team, you want to be working all together. You want to be able to be trusting to your teammates, and you want to be able to know that, it doesn't matter if you're a forward or a defense, if you're shortstop or you're outfield, whatever it may be, you're okay because you're working together. And another one that wasn't in the last slide, but adjourning is a term that means like the team conducts an assessment of the year and implements plans for transitioning in roles, recognizing contributions. So let's say there's a big project that a company has to complete, and they, complete it and it's successful. So they kind of see, okay, here's what worked. Kathy did good at this, but Beverly didn't do so good at that. I don't know why I'm using those names, but here we go. So Kathy and Beverly are kind of talking about, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. And, maybe next year when this kind of project may come up again, they're recognizing like, okay, Kathy can do this, but Beverly can do this instead. And recognizing that, even though Kathy wasn't good at one certain thing, she still did a really good job in doing that. So I'm sure you guys are probably, thinking in your head like, oh yeah, I remember, a project or group thing, whatever it may be. So because we work in, teams pretty frequently in this world. All right. So think about a time when you worked in a team. It could be a project through school, work-based learning, internship at a previous job, or a sports team. Remember when you enter a new workplace and the existing employees have to reform to incorporate you into the team. So as I mentioned, all these kind of sports metaphors and internships and jobs and all those kinds of things, they all ring true, and it happens multiple times in life. I know there was one time when I got into an internship, or not an internship, a new job, and everyone else was like super tight knit and I was the newcomer coming in. And for me, that was really terrifying because I'm an extrovert and I wanted to fit in really bad, but I knew it was going to take a hot minute for them to, incorporate me into the team and reform and, get us to where we were at that point. So when we're talking about team dynamics and decision-making pieces, I want you guys to think about the, what is it called? Myers-Briggs type indicator, or the MBTI, the thing where it's like the 4 letters, like mine is ENFJ. Aria, do you know what your Myers-Briggs type is?
I think mine's I N. I can't remember the last two.
It's T or F?
Oh, I think it's F.
F, and then J or P?
It's P.
P. Okay. So IN, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
INFP?
Mm-hmm.
Nice, nice. So when people talk about these, it's like the end all be all of personality things, but they actually are a lot deeper than that. They kind of they can incorporate into our work lives as well. So for instance, I'm going to use Aria and I as an example. I am an extrovert, so E stands for extrovert, I stands for introvert. And that's really how you recharge. It's not so like, oh my God, I could talk to people all the time, or, introvert meaning like, I'll talk to a few people and I'll be good. It really means on how you have to recharge. So for instance, I get recharged when I hang out with like my family and my friends, whereas an introvert might recharge and, be ready to go after spending, time alone, some quiet time, whatever it may be that way. So when we're thinking in terms of team dynamics, the extrovert might share information and discuss ideas, while the introvert might take that as a reflection time to think it through. So not presenting their ideas right away, but kind of think and hear what other people are saying that way too. So the zigzag piece also talks between our sensing and intuition. So that's what the N and the S stand for. So the sensing person might take the facts of the situation. What do we know? Cost, benefits, what's working? How do we modify it? How do others do it? Whereas the intuition person might take, what's really going on? What's the root of what's happening? Are there patterns? Are there models, possibilities, potentials, thinking bigger that way, where the sensing might be, what's working in the here and now, what isn't. Then we can come to the next one, which is the thinking and feeling. That's the next letter in the sequence of the Myers-Briggs. So the thinking, the T, they would be critically thinking so far. Is this the right way to do it? Consequences, what's logical? Is this reasonable? Are there flaws? Is this really going to work? Kind of thinking that way. While the feeling is, have we heard from everyone? What's good about each idea? How do we best serve the people? How do we feel about each option? So similar, but definitely, want to make sure it's, thinking about others versus, okay, is this the right way to do it? Am I thinking everything through properly, and like using logic that way too? And lastly, the letters judgment or perceiving. The judgment person might want to make a plan, make a routine, make like a spreadsheet of this is what's working and this is what's not working. While the P, the perceiving person, might be more open, like it says, to changing plans, might be more free flowing. Sometimes they're just like, we'll go with what the flow and what happens kind of thing. So if you guys know what your Myers-Briggs type is, you can kind of see how this might fit into you. And, when you're in a team, these might resonate with kind of how you operate. I know for me, as an ENFJ, I'm like, this is me to a T. So, it's a very applicable personality type indicator to kind of help with multiple situations in life. All right, so next we are going to be kind of going into analysis and solution mindset. So here we go, the next one. So analysis solution mindset is considering different viewpoints and putting effort into understanding why information may be presented in a certain way. So, looking at the bigger picture of the work situation, community, or society when solving problems. So the two bolded ones are going to be the ones that we're going to focus on, but it's also important to think about, examining information and data using critical thinking skills, as well as taking time to think about different ways of solving a problem and testing out ideas to see which one is best. So that's all part of the analysis solution mindset. But again, we're going to be focusing on the top two today. All right. So classic, we're going to have another one of these videos because they're kitschy and fun.
Thanks for waiting. We're so excited to share some of our new ideas with you. Unfortunately, we're running just a tad behind.
I noticed.
It'll only be a few more minutes. Can I get you something? A cup of coffee, perhaps?
Sure, I'll take a coffee.
You got it! All right, Krups. I don't like you and you don't like me. But there's a client out there that wants some of your sweet nectar, and nothing is gonna get in the way of her getting her nectar. You got that? All right.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm trying to make coffee for the client, but this stupid thing won't work. Watch.
Shoot. Have you tried figuring out what's wrong with it?
Great idea. How would I do that?
Maybe ask someone who's been working here for longer than you have.
Good idea. Do you know how to fix the coffee machine?
Do I look like I have any idea?
Well, if you don't, then why don't you find someone who's better at electronics than you are?
I could do that. Do you have any idea what's wrong with it?
No, no clue.
Wait, I have a good idea. Oh, it was worth a shot.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Totally.
Is my coffee ready yet?
It's the darndest thing.
That machine is just being such a little rascal.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it on again?
No?
Maybe checking to see if the pipes are clogged.
Ew, gross. Oh.
Have you even put coffee in here?
Very insightful. You are very insightful.
Did the two of you even try to fix the coffee maker? Or have you just both been standing here turning the same knob over and over instead of actually trying to figure out what's going wrong?
More of the second thing.
Yeah.
That's what you used at the Christmas party last year.
Water.
I just made a pot of coffee. Does that really warrant a slow clap?
Don't question it. Just enjoy it while it lasts.
This is your moment. Just take it in. Well done, well done.
Client of the week.
Woo!
Coffee for the whole office.
Lifesaver.
Why didn't you call for a reshoot?
So as you guys can see, bit silly. But I think, as these videos do, they drive home the point of, really ask questions. Don't do these things. All right. So another time in the chit chat time. So go ahead in the chat box, list if you've ever experienced a time in college working on a project where someone encountered a problem and just gave up rather than trying to develop solutions. Obviously, don't divulge anyone's name or, respect their privacy that way. But if there's an experience that you've had something similar like that, where, they just gave up, go ahead and put, you can type out the story a little bit, or you can just write, yes, whatever reigns true for you. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of an experience myself. But it's hard because I, good. It's hard because I'm such a very analysis person and trying to figure it out that I don't want to, um, you know, I try not to dwell on those times that were negative that way. Oh, so yes, barista trainer at Starbucks, and used to get so frustrated when the barista wouldn't get the simplest task like grinding coffee. Oh, yes, yes. Having a group member say, we should email the professor about a question they have and not taking the initiative themselves. Ooh, that's such a good example. Yeah. When they say, I have questions about this, we should email the professor, and then they just anticipate that someone else is going to do it for them. Yeah. And especially when it pertains to a group project and something that you're like, I need to know the answer too. And the barista trainer piece, I was a supervisor for 3 out of the 4 years I was there, and the simplest tasks, how do I change the toilet paper in the bathroom? Use the key, and do it that way. So without, it's fine to ask questions, but after being there for so long, those kinds of pieces too. So sometimes people just don't take the okay, I'll take the initiative and figure this out myself. They're more of I'm going to ask all the questions, and I'm not going to try and think ahead that way too. So good job, you guys. Oops, let's do that. So when it comes to this analysis solution mindset, is really, there's 4 main kind of steps to do with that. So one big thing is to kind of reframe. So if you run into these kind of issues, these 4 steps will kind of help with that. So reframing, think of it and think of life kind of as a picture. How does it change when you zoom in on this gentleman working on the Golden Gate Bridge versus the entirety of the Golden Gate Bridge? So wherever he may be on the Golden Gate Bridge working on it, it's a small portion of what can help make the bridge so successful that way. So reframing can kind of help you ask new questions. And, when you reframe things, you look at things, you can see new perspectives, come up with new solutions. So for instance, the age old, what's the sum of 5 plus 5, or what 2 numbers add up to 10? So thinking about things in a different way can also be beneficial to think like someone else that way. So the client in the 21st century video clip reframe the problem for John and Jane by kind of just taking initiative and doing things that way. So we're going to watch a quick little clip from Dr. Tina Seelig. She's a professor at Stanford and explains changing the frame changes the range of solutions to a problem.
Albert Einstein is quoted as saying, "If I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended upon the solution, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining how to frame the problem. For once I know the proper question to ask, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes." This is critically important. For every situation in the world, we are creating frames. We're looking at everything from different angles, from up close, from far away, or from upside down. And the frames that we create affects the way we see, the way we hear, and the way we experience the world. Each of these frames both limits and informs the way we think. In most cases, we don't even consider the frames. We just assume that we're looking at the world with the proper set of lenses. However, being able to question and shift your frame of reference is an important key to enhancing your imagination because it reveals completely different insights. There are lots of ways to change the frame or point of view. One powerful way is to ask questions that start with why. Let me give you an example. If you asked me to build a bridge for you, I might go off and build that bridge. But I could ask you why you need the bridge in the first place. Your answer might be you needed to get to the other side of a river. Well, gee, there are lots of ways to get to the other side of a river besides building a bridge. You could dig a tunnel, take a ferry, paddle a canoe, use a zip line, or fly a hot air balloon, to name a few. You can open the frame even further by asking why I need to get to the other side of the river. Perhaps I work on the other side. This again provides valuable information and broadens the range of possible solutions even more. Reframing is a great way to see the problems you face in a fresh light. A great example comes from the Tesco food marketing business in South Korea. They had the challenge that they really wanted to increase the market share of their business and realized that their customers were so busy that it actually became difficult for them even to get to the store. So they decided to reframe the entire shopping experience. Instead of having the customers go to the store, they decided to bring the store to the customers. They took full-size pictures of all the shopping aisles in the store and put them up in the subway stations so that people could shop while they're waiting for the train. They could use their smartphones to buy the items, and then they were delivered to them when they got home. This experiment boosted sales dramatically and would never have happened if Tesco hadn't been willing to completely reframe what it meant to sell food to customers. Keep in mind that reframing problems takes effort, attention, and practice, but it's absolutely well worth it because it allows you to see every challenge around you in a fresh light. This skill enhances your ability to generate imaginative solutions to all the problems that come your way.
So, kind of cool video, especially about the Tesco Subway thing. I think with, the climate of the world that we're in right now, a lot of companies and a lot of places have had to reframe and ask new questions of why is our, what about us makes us essential? What about this is something that our customers need or whatever it may be. So since that video came out, a lot of companies are doing things to help make it easier for their consumers or asking why is our product working, why isn't it? So taking a larger look at things. So, reframing can help you come up with innovative solutions. So for instance, let's just say you've been hired to replace a manager who has never provided guidance to his workers. So the staff members are all stressed, not getting their work done, and assume you will be just as bad as the manager who left. So what are some kind of reframing, some solutions that might come up with that? And if you guys think of anything, you can put it in the chat, and I'll look at them in a second too. But these are kind of some of the solutions that I thought of and also the New World of Work has. So think about the multiple perspectives and the points of view. So there's your point of view, the staff, the bosses who hired you, potentially even the customers too. So how they see what you're doing. Some solutions and questions to ask. What further information and data might you need? What are some possible solutions to the what are some possible solutions to this problem? So, thinking creatively. And if you guys think of anything else to this, please put it in the chat, because this was just quick little things that way. All right. Oh, you guys were responding to the other ones too. Recent group project I led. Tried to reach out to someone if that person did instead. Oh, Ryan, that stinks. I'm sorry. That's not a fun time when the person just left the group and joined another group. They didn't let you know. That's lame. I'm sorry that happened. But they don't have very good communication skills or collaboration, it sounds like. Better to turn in what you can. Yeah. I think when it comes to, reframing, if I, was hired to be a manager to, provide some guidance to staff members, I would kind of want to hear their perspectives, especially if you're coming into a manager role. And those of you who have potentially worked in, like the Starbucks or any like fast food or anything like that, each person kind of wants something a little bit different that way. So I think talking with each individual about what's important to them, what can I do to not, let others assume that I'm just as bad as the manager that left, and those kinds of things, that might be possible to create a better thing. As well, talking to people individually, I would want to have a whole meeting to talk about with everybody, like a whole store meeting, so everyone can just kind of say what they're thinking, and figure out what might work to find best solutions. What isn't working, what is working. So those are some kind of ideas behind, replacing a manager who never has provided guidance for someone. So reframing can definitely help you break big problems into smaller ones. So kind of like with the similar, or with the previous scenario, replacing a manager. So reframing isn't just about taking a step back to look at the context. It's sometimes about looking at the smaller parts of the bigger issue. So like I mentioned, what I would do if I was that manager, I would talk to each person individually first before addressing everyone as a group, because the smaller parts can always make up to a bigger issue that way. So this can help feel less overwhelmed and stressed when you approach a big issue one part at a time. So, if anyone can think about an example, sometimes when you have a ton of assignments due, it's good to kind of break it up into like potentially a list, or write things down and check it off one thing at a time, or whatever organization tactic works for you. So for example, balancing academics with your personal life and responsibilities can be difficult. I mean, in today's day and age, you have a lot of students who go to school full-time, potentially help take care of their families full-time. They also work part-time, and they also try to be involved on campus too. So there's a lot of different things that can be important to us and take over parts of our lives. But it's important when something isn't working, you take that step back to approach the larger issues to figure out what's going to help with all these smaller pieces that way. So we talked about reframing. Step 2 is collecting information. So an important part of reframing is collecting the information you need to make informed decisions that can lead to solutions. So think about the steps in the decision-making process. Whatever it may be for you, it might be a little bit different, but you want to utilize your critical thinking skills when you're evaluating information. So this is a pretty common example that people use. So you identify the problem, you collect relevant information, develop alternatives, evaluate each alternative, select the best one, implement it, and then follow up and evaluate. So I know for me, when I was choosing what grad school to apply to, I had to identify, okay, what do I want to get my degree in? Okay, collect all the relevant information of each different school, develop what, alternatives of, my A plan, my B plan, my C plan, evaluate it, selecting the best one, implement it, and then, follow up and evaluate what, I think is good about that school. So, yeah, I mean, you can apply this to a lot of different things, but that was just the first example that popped into my mind that way. So when it comes to like gathering information, one big thing, especially right now, is, where do you get your news? Where do you check up on updates? Where do you, gather this information that's important that way? So this is a little bit old of a study, came out in 2014, but it's talking about the percentage of adults who are 16 and above undertaking media activity. So the blue lines are they watch television, the red lines are go online, and then the yellow is read newspapers and magazines. So the people that were ages 16 to 24 said that they pretty much all watched their television to get their media activity. And as you can see, the watching television is increased. It's so high up there of what people do to get their media. Sorry, I have a sneeze coming on. And then as well, the online piece is kind of starting, to drip as far as, you go up in age. It's the closest in the younger demographics, and it starts to go down a little bit more. So for instance, the 75 and up division, they're not online very often. They're more looking at newspapers and magazines, that kind of way too. So when it comes to finding the information, potentially finding solutions and learning things like this, when you click on news online, analytics are starting to track the type of information you research most. So, the cookies and the browsers and all those kinds of pieces. News feeds can become more tailored to your preferences and populate with interesting articles pertaining to you. So when all of this is kind of starting to happen, it creates a limited point of view, and you see what you have sought after already. And instead of building a well-rounded sense of information, you can build a bias that way. So it's important to kind of reframe the information based off of what you're exposed to that way. So when we're talking about what's being hidden, what's happening, okay, I'm only seeing ads that are tailored to shoe shopping. I don't know, it's the first thing that popped into my head. Maybe how can I fix that or do something, to change it a little bit too. So a good piece is to how to tell if fake news is from the real news. And I don't know if anyone's ever dealt with this, but I'm constantly using this website and websites just like it to kind of help, figure out what am I reading that's actually factual or not. So TED Ed is, a good website that, helps with the TED Talks and everything that way too. So Stanford University researchers, want you to be able to tell real news from fake news by starting to ask these 5 questions. So who wrote it? What claims does it make? When was it published, which is also important? Where was it published, and how does it make you feel? And I feel like the last portion is very important to that, because fake news, all propaganda, is designed to make you feel strong emotions. So if you read a news item that makes you feel super angry, pause and then double check the item's claims. Don't believe everything you read. There's no substitute for critical thinking. So when we're talking about the analysis solution mindset, it goes hand in hand with the critical thinking piece. So if you've heard the 2 terms before, they're kind of very lump sum that way too. So yeah, so these kind of pieces, especially with the world that's going on right now, it's important to really think critically about what claims is it making, when was it published, where was it published. So if anyone knows, like theonion.com, that's a like satire, like joke article page, but I've seen some people post their fake articles that they have from there and take it as it is like reality. So, you know, utilizing what's real to you and whatnot. Oh my goodness, it's already 11:58. Identifying problems and seeking solutions. The world is filled with problems, which means it has just as many solutions. So think about your interests, skills, career goals. If anyone wants these articles, please let me know. I can definitely, you know, send them over to you. You know, NFL player, a 24-year-old who struggled to find financial aid while in college. He designed an app to help low-income students find scholarships. So this person definitely identified problems and sought after solutions that way. And think about the impact that your solutions can have on others too. So you want to like think, does it provide good for the greatest number? Does it respect? Is it fair? Is it equitable? So you can kind of take time to think about these when decision making and using your analysis and solution mindset that way. And then lastly, yeah, I feel like I rushed through this because I just realized what time it is, and I definitely want to respect everyone's time. So I will go ahead and share the worksheets and kind of the extras that we normally share at the end of each episode, or the end of each episode, the end of each thing. Aria and I are here for you guys. Set up anytime or appointments with us through the Career Center page if you have questions. Most of you guys I've seen from week to week, so that's really great. If you did attend all of them, please feel free. Please make sure to remind myself or Aria that you attended all of them so we can put you on the list for the certificate. You know, ought know that you're amazing, and, you know, especially during quarantine, you're taking one tiny puffin step at a time. I think, you know, it's important to, you know, take care of yourself during all of this, and you know, making sure that, you know, you're, like we mentioned earlier in the day or in the session, that, you know, take care of yourself first and foremost that way. Yeah, sorry, Grace, give me 1 second. I will go back to step 3. Step 3 was the analysis portion. So analyzing and looking at things totally that way too.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So in there, I went ahead and put down the SharePoint of all the handouts. The handouts are definitely talking about the zigzag model and, you know, a problem solving exercise. So, you know, you can utilize this in multiple different ways, whether it's school or work that way. So I want to say thank you to everyone for today. I appreciate